force, one presence, one substance in the world that we call God. But whatever you call it, it's good, it is joy, it's power, it's love. And we live in a universe that is filled with love and that operates by spiritual law that work just as the same ways as our physical laws do. And so that means that we get to control our future if we control our thinking. So that's what we come together to do every week on Sundays and on Wednesdays and sometimes some other times in between. So we are so glad to have you with us today. I have a few announcements. We wanted to let you know we have got a ton of stuff. Household items, artwork, kids stuff, crafts, file cabinets, chairs, cabinets, coolers, Christmas stuff, and books available. So you are invited to come by the center next week on Monday through Wednesday from 12 to 4 to look through what we have and go on a shopping spree. Donations are gratefully accepted. So we had so much fun with our Advent calendar that we are keeping that tradition going this entire year with our daily words of encouragement. So I hope that you have signed up. If not, please do. If you would like to also like them and share them with your social media, that'd be fantastic because they are words of encouragement that start our day off with some thoughts of light, and we can use all the light workers out there that we can get. It is a work in progress, so we're going to change the format starting next week, and bring the words of encouragement up to the top of the email. And if you are listening to this but have not been receiving the daily emails, please reach out to trianglecsl@info.com. So thank you for participating with us. In a statement, Raleigh Mayor Marianne Baldwin said, "COVID has taken so much and so many dear ones from us. Honoring those whom we have lost to this terrible disease is a way to bring communities together." She also said, "I am honored to have our city join with others in this show of national unity and support for individuals and families who continue to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic." To that end, buildings throughout downtown Raleigh will glow amber next week in remembrance of those who lost their lives to COVID-19. The event will take place at 5:30 p.m. Tuesday as part of a nationwide memorial organized by the National League of Cities. In Washington, D.C., a ceremony will feature a lighting around the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. TCSL invites you to join the event from home by lighting candles or putting a small light in a window and taking time to pray, meditate, or reflect. And our Let's Stay Connected is continuing into the new year. Please join us on Zoom immediately following the service to see and speak with your community. The link is in the Wednesday newsletter. So please, even if you just stop in for 5 minutes to say hi, please let's see everybody in your 2021 selves. So thank you for that. Okay, so now I am so pleased to be able to call to the platform our platform hostess with the mostess, the inimitable Michelle Love.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for those in the room and those at home, we're so happy that you're here. Our theme for 2021 is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our January theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision, to kick that off for the new year. Reverend Dusty's talk title today is Here and Now. I'm going to read this community's purpose statement, which is the reason that we are here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives into being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. And so it is. So I'd like to take a few moments just to center everyone. If you will join me, I invite you to close your outer eyes and take a deep breath in, just fully arriving to this moment now that we find ourselves in, turning within and allowing the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to wash over you.
I invite you to begin to bring your attention back into your bodies and into your rooms, and remain turned within as I speak a word of invocation upon our service. Certainly not invoking the presence of Spirit, for the presence of Spirit is always present. Within our hearts, within our minds, we are swimming in it. It is all that there is, benevolent, everywhere at all times, in its fullness and in its wholeness. It is that which breathes us, animates us, that which created everything that there is, seen and unseen, an energy with no circumference and points of center everywhere. I know that I am one of those points. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is true for each and every person here in the sanctuary today, each and every person on Facebook Live or on Zoom, each and every person that hears this service at a later time and place. Every sentient being on the planet. We are all connected by this golden thread of God stuff that weaves itself throughout all of life. And it is from that place of unity that I bless our time together, calling it good and very, very good, even as it is just beginning, knowing that it flows with grace and ease, and that something within it is inspiring, uplifting, life-changing for each and every person that hears this today. I bless all of the volunteers that came early to serve this community today. Ava and Heather in the AV, Carol and Michelle as practitioners and platform hosts, Debbie Verderamo as she shares her gift of music today, and everyone that is listening, this entire TCSL community. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be here, for this technology that allows us to stay connected during this time. And so I know that today is a good God day, and we allow it to unfold as such simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. It is now my pleasure, privilege, honor to invite back to the podium licensed spiritual practitioner Carol Cross.
And And I'm going to ask Michelle to come up and assist me with one of our favorite things to do, our blessing of all faiths. So the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic tradition are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. The reading for today is from Leo Tolstoy. He says, "There is only one time that is important, now. It is the most important time because it is the only time that we have any power." So, all right, and I invite everyone to close your outer eyes as I say a quick word of blessing about today. And closing my eyes allows that golden thread of God stuff within me to shine brighter. And I know that it is who and what I am. I am a golden light worker. And my light shines out, and my light shines good and bright and joyful and abundant and powerful and wise as it connects with the golden light of every other person, every other thing in this universe. And I know that when Reverend Dusty comes up here, she will be shining brighter. She will be this wonderful, hollow, golden bone that will just download the divine wisdom, saying what needs to be said as we hear what needs to be heard. And speaking of hearing, I also know that Debbie Veramo is going to just transport us with her beautiful gift of song. So I know that this is going to be a special morning. And I'm so glad to be here and to be here with you. And so I'm turning this over to the universe that is already in the process of making it a perfect event. And ask you to affirm this with me with our words. And so it is. And now, yay, we get to hear from the beautiful Deborah.
Question is now, the question is now, why are we here? To say our hellos and goodbyes and then disappear. Oh, this beautiful life? What is it for? To learn how to master peace or to master war? There's only one answer that matters, even if your heart is in shadows. Whatever you want, whatever you're after, love is still the answer. Love is still the answer. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. We all make mistakes. No, we're not perfect yet. Maybe God made us all from an accident. Oh, and the question is this that sits on everyone's lips, is why should we pick ourselves up and start over again? And there's only one answer that matters, even if your heart is in shadows. Whatever you want, whatever you're after, love is still the answer. Love is still the answer. Love, 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 love. Love, love, love. The question I'll ask at the end of my days is, what did I give and what did I take? And there's only one answer that matters, even if your heart and your dreams have been shattered. Whatever you want, whatever you're after, remember, love is still the answer. Love is still the answer. Love, 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 love. Love is still the answer. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Debbie. Thank you. Really don't know quite what else to say. Love is still the answer, no matter what the question is. This year's theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And this month we are exploring the ancient and sacred wisdom that science of mind has drawn upon and begin to contemplate the trajectory of our individual and collective consciousness and how that outpictures in the world today. Now, as we begin our journey through the year, we are today taking a moment to take stock of where we are right now, to look at the here and now. Using spiritual practice and present moment awareness, we take a genuine and deep look at right where we are right now, within ourselves and collectively in our communities. Now, as we look around in present time, we might see that we have not exactly been the best caretakers of this amazing thing called life. The world we are living in seems to be tearing apart at the seams. The problems facing humanity today are almost overwhelming. We have not exactly been the outlet of God's divine presence that we were created to be. We only have to look out at the world today to see that we are not living in unity. We are not living in the deep and abiding connection that we have to one another. Division and separation are really everywhere that we look. There are many places on the planet and many situations that are happening in the world today that clearly point to an us versus them mentality. We only have to look at the world and know that we are conditioned to ignore the oneness, that we are conditioned to ignore our connectedness, our interdependentness, and that instead of the oneness, we more often than not only see our differences. We more often than not only see those things that appear to separate us. The universe depends on the cooperation and the interdependence of everything and everyone working together. But this is not always the place that we are living our lives from. We are often unwilling to take a stand and speak out against racism, injustice, hatred, bigotry, brutality, and ignorance. This is happening on so many different fronts: social, racial, political, religious, sexual, and others. Now, we only have to look out at the world in the world today to see that we are conditioned to compete, to win at all costs, to live our lives comparing achievements or vying for resources, judging everything, and living in opposition to each other. Racism, sexism, ageism, and intolerance reign havoc everywhere. We are intimately connected to all of creation, and yet we build fences. We construct barriers, we create labels, and we utilize infinite strategies to separate ourselves from one another. We only have to look out at the world today to see unemployment, crime, poverty, and other wealth imbalances, disease, famine, homelessness, squalid living, and war are everywhere we look. Systems such as healthcare and education are not working for the majority of people. We only have to look out at the world today to see that very few people are willing to take responsibility for themselves, for their choices, for their actions, and for the consequences of those actions. when responsibility is abdicated, either chaos reigns or there are others who assume that responsibility and thereby deprive others of their rights, privileges, and freedoms that go along with personal responsibility. Now, we only have to look out onto the world today to see what we have collectively manifested. Fear, judgment, resentment, despair, frustration, and anger are at the forefront and made even more visible than ever before by this fast-paced technology that we enjoy in our lives today. Selfishness, ignorance, paranoia, and hatred run rampant in every corner of the earth. Global warming and increasing natural disasters threaten our very existence, and we threaten the planet and its animal species with our ignorance and our cruelty. Now, there is really so much to feel blessed by. So much to feel blessed by that is happening in the world. There's so much to be grateful for. And yet, where is the world that works for everyone? Where is the love? The love that Debbie's saying about. Where is the love? Where is the peace? Where is the joy? Where is the compassion? And where is the abundance that is actually the truth of who we are, who each and every single one of us are, and who we came here to be? Now, it is time to put our ancient wisdom and knowledge to use. In a recent blog by Richard Rohr, he talks about a book called How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy. Now, the book was written by Joanna Macy and her co-author, Chris Johnstone. Now, in the book, they talk about the 3 stories of our time. The first story is called Business as Usual. The defining assumption is that there is very little need to change the way that we live. Economic growth is regarded as essential for prosperity, and the central plot is about getting ahead. The second story is called The Great Unraveling. Now, this story draws attention to the disasters that business as usual is taking us towards, or as well as those that it has already brought us to. It is an account. This story called The Great Unraveling is an account, backed by evidence of the collapse of the ecological and social systems, the disturbance of climate, the depletion of resources, and the mass extinction of species. The third story is held and embodied by those that know that the first story is leading us to catastrophe, and who refuse to let the second story have the last word. It involves the emergence of new and creative human responses to what is happening in the world. New and creative human responses. It is about the transition from an industrialized society committed to economic growth to a life-sustaining society committed to the health and the recovery of the planet as a whole. They call this the Great Turning. Jungian analyst and storyteller Clarissa Piccola Estes writes, "Stories set the inner life into motion. And this is particularly important where the inner life is frightened, wedged, or cornered. Stories grease the hoists and the pulleys. It causes adrenaline to surge, shows us the way out, down, or up, and for our trouble, cuts for us wide doors in previously blank walls. Openings that lead to the dreamland, that lead to love and learning, that lead us back into our own real lives." But the thing is, it has to be the right story. The story that is aligned with the truth of who we all are, individually and collectively. the story that creates a space that we can all step into, a story that invites the highest and best for everyone and everything on the planet, the story that allows for the presence of God as the allness of possibility. For myself, I no longer wish to participate in that first story. I no longer wish to add my consciousness to that narrative. I can look out at the world today and see evidence of the second story. We just talked about it. Evidence of that second story, the Great Unraveling, and yet I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that despite what my human perceptions might be telling me, that the truth is that God is everywhere, even when it appears to be hidden behind clouds of fear, doubt, worry, despair, paranoia, and ignorance. I refuse to let the second story have the last word. I am ready, willing, and able to powerfully step into the unfolding of the story called The Great Turning. Joanna Macy and her author Chris Johnstone say, this is where we begin. By acknowledging that our times confront us with realities that are painful to face, difficult to take in, and confusing to live with. Our approach is to see this as the starting point of an amazing journey that strengthens us and deepens our aliveness. So here we are. We begin with the here and now. Beginning in the present moment, or the here and now, means that we are aware and mindful of what is currently happening in the world, in this very moment. Living in the moment means that we don't get stuck in the past or the future. We are not distracted by ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, but centered, grounded in that perfect now moment, the here and now. It means that we don't limit ourselves with old beliefs or let guilt and shame cloud our choices. Living in the moment means being liberated from the baggage that can get in our way. Living in the moment means that we are aware of and deeply connected to the divinity within us, to the peace within us, to the joy within us, to the creativity within us, to the compassion, the love, the wisdom, and the abundance that is within us. When we are connected to our higher selves, we have opened our minds to greater possibilities. We have opened our minds to inspired solutions. From the peace at our center, we gain the necessary distance from our emotions in order to connect to that intuitive wisdom that is within us and the inspiration needed to guide our steps in a new direction. Albert Einstein says, no problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. We must learn to see the world anew. He offered us an example of what can be learned by looking deeply into our true nature to reach a deeper understanding about all of life. When we apply this quote to our lives, we can see that we cannot create abundance by staying in a consciousness of poverty, nor can we gain a sense of power in our lives while continuing to identify ourselves as a victim. Situations that begin from fear and anger can have very little chance of reaching a state of peace and love unless someone involved can conceive of the possibility and then act upon it. We need to find ways to step outside of our limited understanding and our old patterned ways of being in order to seek a bigger picture, in order to have a different world, in order to have a world that works for everyone. Ernest Holmes tells us that spirit can only give us what we can take. The power is already within us. In order to be able to use it, we must acknowledge its presence within us. We must acknowledge it, and then we must use it with confidence. The bottom line is that the only time that we can do this, as Leo Tolstoy said, is in the now moment. It's the only time we can really access that power. The power from the past has already been used. The power in the future is just waiting for us to get there. We must start now, in the here and now. Ernest Holmes, in my opinion, really said a lot of really wonderful things. And again, in my humble opinion, one of the most wonderful things that he ever said was the idea that principle is not bound by precedence. Principle is not bound by precedence. And I think that it's so important that I'm going to kind of, unpack it a bit today so that we are all on the same page. Now, in science of mind, the word principle may be interpreted as first cause. First cause is spirit or source or love or life. Some people call it God and other people call it nature. But by whatever name we call it, the important thing, the only thing that matters is that principle is the cause of everything. It is what makes the stars shine and the planets spin. It is what beats our hearts and keeps us breathing. It is always creating out of itself anew an even greater, grander, and more glorious good. Always. Now, in this sense, bound is defined as apt, or likely to, or certain to, or destined to become or do something. For example, we might say, we all thought that Doug was bound to be an artist. So we were very surprised when he became a trader on Wall Street. Is not bound by means that nothing is holding it back. Nothing is tying it down. Principle is not going to start to do something and then suddenly be told by something else, such as, the forces of resistance or our minds, which are, usually one and the same thing, that it can't do that thing. Is not bound means that nothing is holding it back. Precedent might be understood as the pattern or patterns of that which has come before. Now, you could think in terms of a dress pattern or a habit pattern or a paint by numbers pattern or a belief pattern. By following finite precedent patterns, we may, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say we will not be able to tap into the infinite possibilities inherent within the divine. We will bypass them. They will not be available to us if we stay stuck in the precedent patterns that we have always chosen. Precedent is how it has always been. It's how much money we have in the bank, or how much we exercise, or how much we weigh, or how well we get along with our family of origin. Precedent is that sense of inertia that comes when something has been a particular way for a particularly long period of time. We think things can't change because it's always been that way. Or we may even think that just because it's always been that way, that there's some kind of universal rule that says that it always has to be that way. But what Ernest Holmes is saying is that principle is not bound by precedents. The past means literally nothing to principle. Today is a new day, and principle is right there with us, waiting to expand us into something more glorious than we have ever been before. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "It is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom of heaven." Now, this verse is saying that Principle actually loves to do that kind of thing, because life is all about growth and change and expansion. And Principle is all about life. Principle is not bound by precedents. Spirit creates from its own essence. It has no past and no future. It is only in the now moment. The divine is not bound by what it has produced before or what it has created before. It is unconditioned. It only knows itself. It is the only power that knows itself. Principle doesn't care what we have weighed before, or how much money we have in the bank, or how much we exercise, or how well we get along with our family. None of that matters to Principle. And beyond that, the really, really good news is that because we were created in the image and likeness of the divine, our essence is unconditioned. We are not bound by precedents. We are not bound by our past beliefs. We are not bound by our past experiences. Relying on the maxim that Principle is not bound by precedents, we should not limit our expectations of the future. Anything is possible. When we realize, really, really realize that all of the spiritual power that there is at our disposal, then we are no longer going to be bound by our old ways of thinking. Our glorious, powerful selves cannot be stopped by anything, including what's gone before. Regardless of what has been in our personal lives or the life of our country or on the planet, nothing can prevent us from moving forward unless we let it. I can't imagine that I am alone in longing for us to embrace a better story, both individually and collectively. A different story than business as usual. A more progressive, loving, inclusive, life-sustaining story than the one told in the Great Unraveling. A story that has the power to change our hearts and minds. A story that causes us to enliven our imaginations and trust in a world of unlimited possibilities. A great story connects our little lives to the one great life and gives us a sense of belonging, meaning, unity, compassion, love, and responsibility. And this comes along with a personal participation in it that is important and significant to the whole. What more could you want? Richard Rohr says, "This new story honors the good story of our good God and the goodness of all creation, but also gives us the faith and courage to face the difficult realities that are being unveiled in our times." The bottom line is that the deepest truth that there is the truth of our union with the divine. As spiritual beings, it is the root of our reality, and from that place, and that place from which all of our choices, all of our actions, and all of our stories should arise. Ernest Holmes says, "The divine mind is infinite. It contains all knowledge and wisdom. But before it can reveal its secrets, it must have an outlet." We are that outlet. All of the wisdom of the world is within us. Do you get that? All of the wisdom of the world is within us. Everything that we need to transform our world from a world driven by an old, outdated story to a new world driven by an emerging, spiritually enlightened story is already within us. Anything is possible. We can't continue to live as we have been living, Something has to change, and the only way that it can change is within us, within each of us. It is up to us individually and collectively to do that which is ours to do, beginning with the inner work that only we can do. The space is here, and the time is now. And so it is. And so it is. So I invite us to close our outer eyes, to turn within, to turn our attention away from that world of form, away from the perceptions, away from that story of the way it's always been, away from the unfolding of the great unraveling, and turn our attention inward to that space and place that I call God. That space and place where all of the wisdom that there ever has been, ever is, or ever will be resides within each of us. I know that it is who and what I am. And just as I know this is my truth, I know that it is the truth of each and every sentient being on the planet. We are all a hologram of the divine, ambassadors of its presence on the planet. And it is from that space that I speak these words about and for each of us today. Truly knowing that we have everything within us to go beyond business as usual, to step outside of that great unraveling that is occurring even now on the planet. And to know that as we turn away from it and turn towards the truth of our being, that we can use the power within us to enliven our imagination, to think a different thought, to take different actions, to be loving, as Debbie sang about. And to know that as we do so, we let go of what has been in the past, knowing that we are not bound by it, that we can create anew. And that individually, as we do that within our own lives and the lives of our immediate communities, that spreads out far and wide, much further than we could ever imagine. That is the way that we transform this world, the way we create a world that works for everyone. In this moment, I claim ease and grace around the proceedings in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, wrapping everything and everyone and our entire country within a blanket of unconditional love and peace. I bless President Trump and Vice President Pence as they leave the White House and move into their next expression. And I bless President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris as they move into the White House and their next expression, knowing that where we all are, God is, and that anything is possible. I'm so grateful to know this truth, so grateful to speak these words, so grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes, that my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation. Confidently praying, confidently releasing, confidently living this new expression. And I invite everyone to anchor this prayer for themselves, for each other, for our community, and for our country, simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Amen. All right. So, first, before our conscious giving, I would love to give just a very quick 2020 financial year in review update. I believe that it is on your screen right now. Total revenues for the year, $185,576. Total expenses for the year, $184,442, which, drum roll, means that our net revenue for that year, this year that has been so challenging, this year that has kept us away from each other, not able to meet in person, we have a net revenue of $1,134. And I'm so grateful for everyone in this community, for supporting this community in all of the ways that you do, for your time, your talent, and your treasure, for just loving each other, for continuing to stay connected with each other during this hard time, and continuing to walk this spiritual path as this spiritual family. Thank you for your gifts and your tithes, as it allows us to continue to serve our beloved community and the Greater Triangle area. Now, there are several ways that you can give, and they are coming up on the screen. Visit our website at www.trianglecsl.org. Number 2, text the word GIVE using the following number, 919-230-8445. Or mail your gift to the office. The address is 4000 Bearcat Way, Morrisville, North Carolina, Suite 104, zip code 27560. In this moment, I invite you to place your hand on your heart with your gift or an intention, and let's say this affirmation together. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source, and so it is. I think we better do that again. We're doing it all together. I perhaps didn't make that very clear. We usually do call and response. So all together now, follow the bouncing ball. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. Thank you all. It is now my pleasure to welcome back to the stage the beautiful and talented Debbie Verderamo.
93 million miles from the sun. People get ready, 'cause here it comes. It's a light, a beautiful light, over the horizon into the night. Oh my, how beautiful. Oh, my beautiful mother, she told me, darling, in life you're gonna go far. If you do it right, you love where you are. Just know, wherever you go, you can always come home. 240,000 miles from the moon. We've come a long way to get here, to share this view of the night, a glorious night. Over the horizon is another bright sky. Oh my, how beautiful. Oh, my irrefutable father, he told me, darling, sometimes it may seem dark, but the absence of the light is a necessary part. Just know you're never alone. You can always come home. Oh, you can always get back home. Every road is a slippery slope. There's always a hand that you can hold on to. Looking deeper through the telescope, you can see that your home's inside of you. Just know wherever you go, you can come back home. Whoa, whoa. 93 million miles from the sun. People get ready, 'cause here it comes. It's a light, a beautiful light, over the horizon and into our eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Today, we are taking a moment to acknowledge and honor our beloved Jim Rigsby. Jim has been an active, loyal, and supportive member of this community for over 10 years. He has recently been called to transfer his practitioner license to home office, most specifically the chaplaincy ministry. Chaplaincy is his inner calling, and so it makes sense to align himself with this specific ministry. It also affords him more time and energy for his last year of ministerial school. Over the years, Jim has been vital to the growth and success of our center. He has been not only a practitioner, but has also served on the Leadership Council, the Pastoral Care Ministry, and served as the Teen Program Coordinator. He was the project manager when we updated our website, taught many certified classes, anchored many Wednesday evening services, assisted with many holiday services, managed the AV team, and has been instrumental in our transition to being an online presence. He has participated as a practitioner or platform host during our Sunday services and has even given a number of Sunday messages. He has given generously of his time, talent, and treasure again and again and again over the years. We are and have been blessed by his presence. So I invite each of you from your own home, please hold out your hands in the general direction of Wendell, and please repeat after me. We see you. We know who you really are. We are grateful for all you have done for our community. We are grateful for all you have done for our community. We wish you well on your next adventure. We will be with you in spirit. You will be missed. You are loved madly. And so it is. Thank you, Jim, from the bottom of my heart.
If anyone would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. On the home page, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. click on that button and fill in the request form. We will get that prayer and send it out to all of our ministers and practitioners. Please join us for our Let's Stay Connected immediately following the service. If you're on Zoom, then just stay where you are and we'll come to you. If you're on Facebook Live, then jump over to Zoom. All right, it is time for our January affirmations. So you're all at home, I know. So that means you can really shout it out because we need to hear it all the way out here. So it's a call and response, so please repeat after me. I remember the foundational principles on which our faith is built. I remember the foundational principles upon which our faith is built. I delve deeply into the truth behind these teachings. Delve deeply into the truth behind these teachings. There is one infinite reality. There is one infinite reality. I affirm that I am spiritually grounded in the consciousness of that oneness. I affirm that I'm spiritually grounded in the consciousness of that oneness. I am forever one with all of life. I am forever one with all of life. I continually court and constantly commune with the divinity within me. I continually court and constantly commune with the divinity within me. I practice letting go and surrendering to this one presence. Practice letting go and surrendering to this one presence. I allow the divine to unfold through me. I allow the divine to unfold through me. And all is well. All is well. And so it is. All right. So stick around because we're going to end with another fabulous song video that Dusty has picked out for us that is sure to bring a tear to your eye or a smile to your face, or if you're me, it will be both. So, but before we get there, I ask you to close your eyes again for just a moment. And as I go within, I'm communing with that divinity that is me, that is my truth, that is my core, that love, that joy, that peace, that new, different story. And it feels so good. And I know that this is not just me, that this is true of all of us. All of us are that divine presence and power that is our reality. And so I know today that that divinity is shining brighter than before, and that it is paving the way for us to live this new story, this new way of being in the world. And that is it. That is the truth. That is what is happening. So I'm so grateful that we had this incredible experience together this morning that takes us that step closer to a world that works for everyone. So knowing that this is all unfolded in divine perfection, and that we each will be walking that step in this coming week. And that is good. So I turn this over to the law that always says yes. And I ask you to affirm this for yourself and for us as a community with our words, and so it is. So it is.